Hello again. Hey, this is Mitch at Streaming Consciousness. And, last time we talked about meditating and we did the DMV meditation. I think a big, kind of an important piece on that I'd like to go over is um, non judging. I also like to call it non labeling. Uh, I think a lot of times we get ourselves in trouble just by putting a label on something, pain. And then that leads to a sense of ow and dislike. I mentioned that I do a course called The Anatomy of Enlightenment. And not all of it, but a big piece of it, or maybe an undercurrent of it, is the teachings of the from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and excuse me. Anyway, um, there's the eight limbs of yoga. A part of that not is non-attachment, and so non-attachment is also uh, kind of upstream from that idea of not even labeling. Uh, so, attachment to those things that we like or pleasures, and attachment to not getting those things that we don't like, um, pain, discomfort, those types of things. And uh, pain and discomfort, again, can just be a sense of labeling. I've told this story to my group several times, about when I first got COVID. And it was first, I think I've had it twice now. It's crazy. I hadn't been sick for decades, and then I get COVID twice. Anyway, the first time was extremely severe, and it laid me up for 5 days in bed. And what I found fascinating about it is that instead of calling it anything like inconvenient or pain or suffering or any of that, it was just, I had an incredible notion of sensation throughout the body. And that was allowed the rest of me to be free to experience this sensation with a sense of awe and wonder. And I spent 5 days in absolute bliss. Uh, of course, there were those times when I would, wake up kind of in a delirium, and there would be a very strong sense of discomfort. Um, the pain was, literally, I could feel my fingertips, there was achiness, there was pain everywhere, but I didn't call it pain. I just called it sensation. And so all of a sudden I was like, wow, this entire body is lit up like, like a 1,000-watt light bulb. I could feel every single nerve ending, it seemed like. And just by being absolutely in this notion of sensation, it was awesome. And so that's where I'm trying to go with the um, the DMV meditation. Also do a grocery store meditation, a stuck in traffic meditation. Anything where the mind jumps to a certain loop or a certain um, pattern that says, I don't want to be here. I don't like this. What it's doing is it's refusing the experience. I am simply a witness. This is a witness to all that's happening, and it's a multidimensional experience. So it's not just witnessing through visual but it's smell, touch, taste, and this internal something or other that can create um, anything from sharp, acute pain to dull achiness to longing to heartbroken to loneliness. And so all these other sensations are part of this multidimensional witness of all that's going on. And all that's going on is here simply for this to observe in all of its incredible abilities to sense from every angle imaginable. So immerse yourself in it, and the sensation that maybe you may have previously labeled as disagreeable becomes a non issue. That's what the non attachment is. Wow, I'm in the wonder of being here in this panoramic, multidimensional wow experience. And it doesn't matter if it's COVID or a a raft trip down the Amazon. You know, uh, one we may say, well, this is an incredible, life changing experience. Well, and the other one is misery. Well, guess what? They're all incredible, life changing experiences. But the fascinating thing is that the life that is changed is this little piece of experiencer. And from there, it goes into the next one, taking remnants of what has happened in the past. And if we don't have any residue from saying, well, I don't like this one, but I do like this one, then each experience can be that wow experience. Okay. I've been seeing a lot of video right now on the political situation. And so part of this multidimensional being is this worry section, this anxiety section. And it says, oh my God, if they do this, then I won't have my Social Security, my medical um, benefits, whatever it is. And um, that's putting something out there of a bigger picture that may or may not be something that's important for you when the time comes. And if you're absolutely anchored in this present moment and you're giving each moment your 100% attention, guess what? Those things that do tend to be more in your like section become the ones that become more prominent in your experience. So I'm throwing out there into my future, oh my goodness, this is wondrous. This Amazon river trip. Um, Whereas maybe the body is giving a lot of signals saying, you know, this COVID thing isn't so great, even though the mind has jumped in and uh, maybe, or not jumped in, but maybe stepped aside and allowed judgment to bypass so that you are in that space of wonder. But the signal is already there, right? That's saying, you know, I'll take more of the raft trips and fewer of the COVID experiences. And so, you know, let's imagine, use your projective abilities to imagine futures that um, are pleasurable for all of the people, and using maybe touchstones within you, um, and part of that is like pulling folks out of their suffering, right? So um, for me, I work with people with anxiety, and I try to help them to see that all experience is experience, and not so much positive or negative. And so, uh, just by pulling you out, you are placed on a path where, we're not going to allow um, whole, the world to go to hell, all of our experiences to become negative, just by accepting experiences that may not be extremely pleasurable. For example, the COVID. Now, I accept that, but I'm not saying, oh, wow, I just want to have COVID all the time. Right? No, that's not what's happening. That's just being in the moment and being uh, accepting, rather than pushing it away and saying uh, this reality is unacceptable, because it's reality for this being at this time, and that's what's coming in. And the preferences noted, uh, all that is you, your higher being, this little tiny piece that we relate to as the body, mind, self, is the smallest of the whole piece. So I go on and on and on and on and on beyond this body. And that 99% of me that is not this body is pure positive light. And so the body, as I mentioned before, in the bungee jump, has come into a density that has separated itself so far from the absolute bliss of pure non beingness or unity, that there is the ability to have pain or dislike. But we're on the return trip, for one. And for number two, this massive majority of the me that is not encapsulated in this dense portion is, like I say, pure positive. And it's going to deliver more of that pure positive to this experience when I take my judgment out of each individual physical experience. I accelerate my return, or I focus myself in the larger self, which cannot be separate from itself. So, anyway, I'm going to give you another exercise. Like I say, body, mind um, are kind of the most distant from the pure light, but the body itself is a wonderful uh, beacon for the mind, because the body itself is always trying to return towards health. If we weren't to put our energies of thought that contain worry and anxiety into the body would heal much faster and be continually in healing. Now, that's not to say that the body won't go through different things, or you may um, have some sort of a disability, or you do have a condition that's somewhere outside of the realm of this. The body itself is always trying to find its way back to its highest equilibrium. So when we come into the breath is a good way for us to connect to that witnesser place, that place that always is in pure positive light. So I like to think of Thich Nhat Hanh. You know, he just continually said, come back to the breath, come back to the breath. The breath will calm the mind. And really, what it is the breath creates space from thinking. When you focus on the breath, you're focusing on something outside of the mind. Your focus is closer to the real you than the thoughts. The thoughts are really pulling you out into that denser place, whereas the breath and beingness is taking you back to your oneness, your clarity, um, your lightness of being. And so the breath is that place of or the focus can take you to the breath, which is that place of non-thought. Okay, the breath is simply the breath, and in the Sanskrit, there's the term pranayama, and prana is life force, and so the pranayama is the merging, the melding, the interacting with the life force. So let's come into our breath. And again, we only breathe in and out through the nose, tongue to the roof of the mouth. Exhale twice as long as we inhale. These are all down regulating tips for the body. It actively tells the body it's okay, or the body responds through the autonomic system that it's okay, sending messages back up to the brain to be calm. When the body's calm, the brain has a lot easier time of being calm. And, you know, even if the brain is trying to be worried and anxious about something going on out there. So let's come into the breath and let's bring our focus inside. And we do this as a practice. We want to bring the breath in really to try and remove or give ourselves space from thought. Because when we focus on the breath, the thoughts tend to be maybe up here, the breath is down in here, right? And our focus coming down moves it away from thought. Now, thought is addicting. It's the number one addiction there is. And of course, it gets into its own little loops. So sometimes it's hard to say, hey, I'm going to take a break from you right now, thought. But I got to solve these problems. I got to solve these problems. The world is, I need. Okay. I'll bet you'll still be there 10 minutes later. Let's just breathe in and breathe out. And let's try to not have any judgments, any worries on what's happening out there. And kind of back to that, you know, there are tips to keep the mind, to settle the mind, that the mind can be maybe a little bit placated with ideas that tell it that, well, actually, this is the way it should be. You know, you look at all this stuff that's going on and it all looks so terrible and worrisome. And, you know, I've heard several people going on and on about different things, especially the different players that are very prominent in the media right now. And those players, the big bad guys are the ones that are getting, you know, the headlines and the most attention. But it's those big bad guys that we need to carry off that energy, that dense, hard energy. Remember, we've bungee jumped. We've come out to this deep, dark, dense energy. But that bungee is pulling us back. We don't have a choice. Even though maybe you've seen some of those pictures or those videos where somebody bungee jumps and they plop into the river and then they bounce back out. That river is all those deep, dark energies. And maybe some of those deep, dark characters. We've bounced into the water, but that river hasn't grabbed onto us. It can't. We're attached to something much, much higher. So as we go down, we've got to return, and we're on that return. Some of those drips are still hanging off of us. We're still maybe a little bit wet from dousing ourselves in the river, but we haven't gone so deep that we drowned. We just went and we're back out. And we discovered, oh, wow, that deep dark energy is a little bit too far from source for this, even this dense person to want to continue to witness on a grand scale, on a worldwide multi-billion perspective scale. So we just have those few characters that are really holding those darkest energies. That's their soul contract, whatever you want to call it. And they're the river. And they can't come up. They can't be with us on the return trip because they're down. They're part of this, and that's where they are. We can go into that if you have questions about that. I can make a video about that, but for now we're just going to leave it at that. But use your breath to bring your focus in. You find the quiet when you focus on this breath. Tongue to the roof of the mouth. Breathe in through the nose, out through the nose twice as long as your inhale. That's all you've got to do. Do it for 5 to 10 minutes in one sitting per day, and maybe 3 times a week if you can't do it per day. But do it in the wild. Do it in the grocery store. Do it while walking the dog. Do it while chatting on the phone. Do it while taking a shower. Just take 2 or 3 very conscious breaths. Make that part of your daily routine, and you will see your anxiety dial start to turn down more and more and more and more. And then your focus will return to your breath more and more often. You'll find that it's a safe haven. It feels so good. And your entire life, will begin to resolve almost as if by magic, simply by taking several opportunities through the day just to down-regulate your body. Your body down-regulates, your mind will down-regulate. Okay? Thank you so much for listening. My name again is Mitchell. Like, subscribe, ask questions. I will put some information as time goes on about my Anatomy of Enlightenment classes. I've got an online workshop that I'm working on. It'll be breathwork, polyvagal theory, and mindfulness. I've got some that are targeted towards migraines, some that are targeted towards PTSD, towards anxiety and specific. So if you have any questions about any of that, please, please, please reach out. Would love to hear from you. So thank you so much. You have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day, and I will talk with you soon. Bye-bye.